I was 2 weeks late on rent, one bad day away from getting my car towed, and scraping the bottom of a peanut butter jar for dinner. So when I saw the flyer taped to the laundromat bulletin board, slightly curled, yellowed at the edges with one corner torn, I didn't even think. Janitor wanted for night shift. That was it. No logo, no address, no contact name, just a local number scribbled in permanent marker. I called it. 2 rings. Then a voice, dry and harsh like gravel, dragged across pavement. "You can start tonight," the woman said. "Midnight sharp, dress warm." I opened my mouth to ask where, but the line went dead. 5 seconds later, a text came through. Dave & Buster's, Cross Hill Avenue. I just stared at it for a moment. Cross Hill? That location had been closed for years. I remembered hearing rumors, some kind of incident, though no one ever gave me a straight answer. Last I'd seen, the windows were dark, boarded up with faded posters still clinging to the inside glass. But when I drove by around 11:30, the lights were on. Not flickering, not barely glowing. On. The giant logo above the doors was lit up, buzzing softly, its colors warped like it had been left out in the sun too long. The neon sign pulsed just like I remembered from childhood birthday parties. It looked normal. Mostly. Still, something about it didn't sit right. The parking lot was too empty, the air too still. But I needed the money. I parked my car a few spots from the entrance, grabbed my hoodie from the back seat, and walked up to the doors. The automatic sensors kicked in just before I touched the handle. They slid open with a soft hiss. Inside, everything was clean. Too clean. The floors looked freshly waxed. The prize counter sparkled like someone had polished every glass surface an hour ago. Even the claw machines looked pristine. No smudges, no grime, no kid fingerprints. And the smell. God, the smell. It hit me the second I stepped inside. A weird mix of old Windex, stale grease, and something sweet that made my stomach turn. Like cotton candy that had melted into a plastic wrapper and was left to rot under a heat lamp. There was no front desk attendant, no music, no sound at all except for the hum of power and the faint whir of an air conditioner that kicked on and off like it was working too hard. Then I saw it. Taped to the wall behind the front desk with 4 pieces of frayed masking tape was a laminated sheet of paper. Letter-sized, bold black text. It looked like it had been printed from an ancient office printer that hadn't been cleaned in a decade. Rules for the night janitor at Dave & Buster's. 1. If any screen is still glowing while you're cleaning, wipe it down once and then walk away. Do not wait for your reflection to catch up. 2. If the Dance Dance Revolution machine starts playing music after midnight, leave the arcade floor and do not return until the song ends. 3. If you hear someone calling your name from the prize hallway, do not answer. Go clean the kitchen instead. 4. Do not open the door to the birthday room between 2 and 3 a.m., no matter what you hear coming from inside. 5. If you see spilled tickets on the floor, sweep them into the nearest trash bin without counting them. 6. Never leave before sunrise, even if your shift ends early. The exit won't be meant for you until then. I stared at it longer than I probably should have. There was no explanation. Just 6 lines that didn't make any damn sense. I let out this awkward half laugh, the kind that bubbles up when you're too tired to cry. Rules? Sure, why not? I'd clean the place, follow their creepy list, and collect my paycheck. End of story. I grabbed the mop, leaning next to the supply closet, and stepped onto the main floor. If I had turned around then, walked back to my car, thrown that phone in the trash, I think I might have been okay. But I didn't. And that's when everything started to go wrong. The place felt too big when it was empty. I started in the arcade, which stretched wider than I remembered. Machines lined both walls, glowing softly in sleep mode. Rows of blinking buttons and joysticks sat in silence, like they were just waiting for someone to touch them. Everything had a faint layer of static in the air, like the buzz of old TVs left on mute. I kept my head down and focused on the skee-ball machines. My mop bucket sloshed behind me as I worked, the wheels squeaking every few feet. There were smudges on the glass ramps and a sticky spot near one of the balls. The scent of dust and disinfectant settled in my nose. I'd made it halfway down the line when I noticed something out of place. A screen. Still glowing. Not a bright glow, but that soft green hue some machines give off when someone's about to start a game. It came from the shooter game tucked in the corner, One of those two-player setups with plastic rifles bolted to the front. I frowned. I hadn't touched that one yet. And no one else was here. No reason for it to be on. Still, I remembered the rule. If any screen is still glowing while you're cleaning, wipe it down once and then walk away. Do not wait for your reflection to catch up. It sounded ridiculous, like something out of a bad urban legend. But I didn't want to screw up on night one, especially if this was some weird test. So I walked over, pulled the spray bottle from my belt loop, and gave the screen a quick mist. The glass shimmered, not just from the cleaner. Something about the glow made it look deeper, like a still pool of water. I wiped it with a clean rag, careful not to leave streaks, and then I paused. My reflection didn't. I don't know how else to say it. It just didn't move right. I lowered my rag, but the version of me in the glass kept wiping, slow, like underwater. Then it stopped. I blinked. It blinked, but just a second too late. I took a shaky step back. My shoulder hit the mop bucket. It rocked and nearly tipped. I turned away and walked fast. Didn't look back. I had no idea what I just saw, and I didn't want to know. I just wanted to get through the night, clock out, and pretend this was all some sleep-deprived hallucination. But then I heard it. A whisper. Not in my ear, behind me, in the dark corner where the shooter game sat. One word. Soft. Almost playful. 1. I didn't stop moving until I was halfway across the arcade floor. I don't remember how long I stood there, gripping the mop handle with sweaty fingers. The machines hummed quietly, the overhead lights buzzed, nothing moved, and then music started. It was faint at first, like something drifting through a wall. I turned toward the sound and froze. The Dance Dance Revolution machine lit up. Arrows flashed in sync with the beat, glowing red and blue. The game was active, scoring a combo, but no one stood on the pads. My stomach dropped. If the Dance Dance Revolution machine starts playing music after midnight, leave the arcade floor and do not return until the song ends. I should have walked away, but I didn't. Maybe I was still trying to convince myself that none of this was real. Maybe I thought watching from a distance didn't count, or maybe I was just too damn tired to care. Either way, I stayed. Just for a few seconds. The beat sped up. The arrows began flashing faster, then erratically. No pattern, no rhythm. The song warped into something else entirely. It sounded like heavy breathing run through a synthesizer, layered over broken drum loops. The screen flickered, and for a split second, I saw someone dancing. Not someone. Me. But not right. The figure twitched unnaturally, legs jerking in every direction, arms flailing like a marionette with cut strings. The face was mine, but it was blurred like smeared ink. The mouth was open too wide. The eyes were black. Then the music cut. The screen went dark. I didn't breathe. Didn't move. Then the whisper came again, louder this time, closer. 2. I dropped the mop. My legs carried me out of the arcade and into the hallway without thinking. My chest burned. I didn't know where I was going, just that I needed to get away from whatever the hell that was. I ducked into the kitchen, flipped on every light, and gripped the counter until my knuckles turned white. The smell of fryer oil and bleach wrapped around me like a blanket. I needed to calm down. Just clean. That's all I had to do. Sweep the floor, wipe the counters, scrub the sinks, keep moving. I picked up a broom and got to work. But I should have known better. Because the building wasn't done with me yet. The kitchen helped a little. It wasn't that the room was comforting or familiar. It was just quiet. Empty stainless steel counters, industrial sinks, fryers that hadn't been used in years but still looked spotless. The air was thick with grease that never fully left. My shoes squeaked as I swept, and that small, repetitive sound gave me something to focus on. Push, scrape, breathe. I told myself I had imagined everything. The DDR machine, the whisper, even the screen thing. I could explain that away if I tried hard enough. Maybe the reflection lagged because of the light, or maybe I was just fried from stress. I needed the money. I kept sweeping. Then I heard it. My name. Morgan, I need help. It came from the hallway near the prize lockers. I gripped the broom tighter. If you hear someone calling your name from the prize hallway, do not answer. Go clean the kitchen instead. I was already in the kitchen. I should have stayed. I know that. I should have scrubbed the sinks or taken out the trash, anything but move toward that hallway. But there was something about the way it said my name. Not threatening, just pleading. I told myself I'd just peek, just make sure no one had snuck in. That was all. The hallway was long and narrow, lined with glass cases filled with toys that hadn't been touched in years. Cheap plushies, outdated headphones, piles of novelty erasers. The air smelled like dust and something older, like rot tucked beneath plastic. The lights buzzed overhead. I took a few slow steps forward. Then the cases started to fog up. One by one, each glass pane clouded as if someone were breathing on them from inside. I stopped. My hands went cold. The broom felt suddenly useless in my grip. And then I saw it. A shape in the reflection. Black. Too tall to be human, but shaped like one. Broad shoulders, long limbs, head bent forward as if it had to duck to fit inside the hallway. It didn't move. But when I shifted, it shifted with me. I backed away. Its outline dragged along the foggy glass. I didn't wait. I turned and ran, shoes slipping slightly on the tile. The broom clattered to the floor behind me. As I hit the edge of the kitchen, I heard it again, the whisper. 3. I slammed the kitchen door shut and leaned against it, chest heaving. I stayed there a while, long enough for my legs to stop shaking, long enough for the sweat to dry on the back of my neck. Then I made the mistake of checking the time. 2:12 a.m. And right on cue, I heard it. Laughter. High-pitched, childlike. It came from behind the birthday room door at the end of the next hallway. My pulse jumped. I knew what that meant. Do not open the door to the birthday room between 2 and 3 a.m. No matter what you hear coming from inside. I didn't want to go near it. I really didn't. But the laugh was followed by the sharp toot of a party horn, then the crinkle of wrapping paper being torn open. Something about the sounds, the familiarity of them, pulled at me. Like hearing a home video from another life. I found myself walking toward the door before I realized what I was doing. I stopped a few feet away. The door looked ordinary, cheap wood scuffed from years of use, the kind of door kids slammed on their way to grab more cake. Then 2 knocks, soft, slow, from the inside. I should have walked away, turned around, followed the rules for once. Instead, I reached for the handle. It clicked open. The room inside was decorated like any birthday party I'd seen growing up. Balloons on the ceiling, long plastic tablecloths, empty juice boxes, and crumpled napkins. But everything was wrong. The air was thick, too warm. It clung to my skin like syrup. My vision felt slightly blurred at the edges. The balloons didn't float. They sagged, twitching ever so slightly like they were breathing. The party hats were scattered across the floor, crushed under invisible feet. Half-eaten slices of cake sat untouched, the frosting melting down the plates in sticky puddles. And then I saw the photo. It was taped to the back wall. A group of teenagers posing in front of the claw machines. One held a giant novelty ticket strip, laughing. Another had his arms thrown around 2 girls. Everyone was smiling. Except the boy in the back. His face had been completely burned away, just blackened edges where his features should have been. Static filled the void, gray fuzz like a broken television signal. Even though it was a still photo, I swear the static shimmered. I stepped back, and the whisper came again. 4. But this time it wasn't behind me, it was right beside me. I didn't remember leaving the birthday room. 1 second I was staring at that photo, at the static where the boy's face should have been. And the next, I was standing in the break room, gripping the counter with both hands. My breathing was loud, sharp. My ears were ringing. I didn't even remember walking there. My phone said 2:39 a.m., still dark outside, still hours to go. I made coffee in the dusty old machine tucked behind the fridge, even though I knew it wouldn't help. The pot hissed and groaned like it hadn't been used in years. When the brew finally finished, I poured a cup, took a sip, and immediately spit it out into the sink. Bitter and burned. It tasted like something had died in the filter and come back wrong. I rinsed my mouth and forced myself to keep moving. Back on the floor, I tried focusing on tasks that didn't involve screens, or doors, or glass cases. I mopped the main walkway, working in long, steady strokes. The rhythm helped. Forward, back. Forward, back. I turned the corner near the dance floor and stopped cold. Tickets. Thousands of them. That long, pink redemption paper snaked across the tile like a trail, twisting between the machines and leading off toward the laser tag arena. I almost laughed. I didn't want to. It just kind of slipped out. That strange, tired kind of laugh that sounds more like a sob. It had to be a prank, or some cruel setup to see if I was actually dumb enough to follow them. I thought of the fifth rule. If you see spilled tickets on the floor, sweep them into the nearest trash bin without counting them. That felt easy enough, right? I grabbed a push broom from the closet and started at the beginning of the trail. I didn't look too closely, just swept them into a neat pile, careful not to touch them with my hands. The sound they made scraping along the tile set my teeth on edge, dry, papery, like something being skinned. And then, I don't know why, I counted. 1, 2, 3. I caught myself too late. The tickets started to move, not from the breeze, not from my broom. They moved, wriggling like worms, twisting around each other, slithering toward my shoes. One curled around the end of the broom handle and tightened, trying to pull itself up like a vine. I dropped the broom. The lights went out. All of them. The overheads, the neon, the signs. Everything blinked out in a single breath, like someone had flipped the breaker and cut the world off behind me. I didn't scream. I wanted to, but I couldn't. My voice caught in my throat like it didn't want to make a sound. In the dark, I heard something rise from the floor. I don't know how else to describe it. A shape. It unfolded, slowly, with joints bending in the wrong direction. Too tall. No face. Just arms. So many arms, long and thin, like wire coat hangers stitched together. And it spoke. Not in words, exactly. Not at first. Just noise. A low hum of static like a dying radio. Then the whisper came again, right beside my ear. "You always lie about your nightmares." I stumbled back. The creature didn't chase me. It just moved. Smooth, slow, its limbs dragging along the floor like ropes. As it turned, I saw more arms unfold from its back. All of them reaching. All of them open. I ran. I slipped twice, once on a puddle of mop water, once on a crushed ticket. I scraped my knee on the corner of an air hockey table and barely felt it. My blood was ice. My body was in survival mode. The hallway stretched out ahead of me, longer than it should have been. The ceiling lights flickered one by one, machines powering on as I passed, each one distorted. One claw machine was full of teeth instead of prizes. A driving game showed a road made of human faces. The popcorn machine spat ash. The shadow followed me, slow but steady. It didn't need speed. It already knew where I'd end up. It whispered as it moved. "You cried when your sister died, but you were also relieved. You think about driving off the bridge on your commute home. You're afraid you're becoming your mother." Every word landed like a punch, things I had never told anyone, not even myself. I finally reached the front lobby and slammed through the exit doors, only to find myself back inside. Same pristine lobby, same weirdly perfect floors, same faint hum of machines. The clock on the wall read 3:42 a.m. I'd broken Rule 6. Never leave before sunrise. Even if your shift ends early, the exit won't be meant for you until then. I looked over my shoulder, expecting the creature to come through the doors, but there was nothing, no sound, no whisper, just silence. And somehow, that was worse. I stood there, staring at the lobby clock like it might start ticking backward. 3:42 a.m. The second hand didn't move. None of them did. The time never changed. I paced the lobby, heart still racing from the run. My hands were shaking. I couldn't stop them. I needed to get out. I tried the doors again, pushed both panels with all my weight. Nothing happened. No resistance, no click, just the cold sensation that they weren't meant to open for me anymore. I turned and walked toward the kitchen. 5 steps in and I was back at the mop closet. I turned around. Same hallway, same machines. The skee-ball alley just to the left, the DDR machine glowing softly up ahead. I took the hallway past the party room, aimed for the emergency exit at the back corner. The crash bar clicked under my hand, the door opened, and I stepped back into the lobby again. It didn't even try to hide it anymore. No matter which way I turned, which corner I took, which door I opened, I always ended up back in the same place. Either the lobby, the kitchen, or the arcade floor. It was like the building had collapsed in on itself and started folding the hallways. I stopped at the break room and slammed my fists against the vending machine. The glass cracked a little. Not much. Just enough to remind me I was still solid. Still here. I grabbed a chair and wedged it under the door handle just to feel like I had some kind of control. But I knew it wouldn't matter. I turned on every light I could find. The overheads flickered to life with a buzz. The little table lamp in the corner clicked on. It didn't help. I could still hear it. Something dragging. A dry, steady sound, like rope across tile. somewhere out there in the dark. Getting closer, I backed into the corner and hugged my knees to my chest. I wanted to believe if I stayed in one place and didn't move, it would pass me by. But then I heard it. A whisper, so quiet I thought it was in my head. 5. It echoed, just once, before silence fell again. I stayed there a long time, minutes, maybe hours, hard to tell. The lights stayed on, but the shadows in the corners twitched every so often. My body hurt from the way I was sitting, but I didn't uncurl, didn't breathe too loud, and then 6. That one was closer. I turned toward the supply closet across the room. The door was ajar, just barely. I hadn't touched it. My breath caught. I pushed myself up slowly, trying not to make noise, and stepped toward it. I gripped the closet handle, bracing for something to reach out. But when I flung it open, there was nothing inside. Just the usual junk. Mop heads, bleach, an ancient vacuum cleaner that hadn't worked in years. And then I felt something wrap around my ankle, cold. I looked down and saw nothing, but I felt it. A pressure, a grip. I screamed and kicked, falling hard against the tile. My hip hit first. I tried to crawl away, but the grip tightened. I was being dragged backward toward the closet. My nails scraped the floor. I reached for the broken broom handle, swung it behind me wildly. It hit something solid, something that hissed. The grip loosened. I scrambled up and bolted, not even looking to see what it was. I ran toward the lobby again, fully expecting to reappear in some other part of the building, but I didn't. The lobby was there, still clean, still perfect. That stupid clock still said 3:42. But now I saw something new, a reflection in the glass doors. Me. But not me. The woman standing there wore the same clothes, same hoodie, same expression. But her eyes were empty, no light, no color, just black. She raised her hand slowly and tapped the glass from the inside. Tap, tap. Then she smiled, just barely, and mouthed something I couldn't hear. Then she was gone, and everything went black. I woke up on pavement. Not warm, sunlit pavement. Cold, cracked, covered in weeds. The air smelled like rust and something rotted deep underground. I sat up slowly, head pounding like I'd slammed it against a wall. My jeans were scraped at the knees and my hands were shaking, even though I wasn't cold anymore. I was outside. The Dave & Buster's loomed behind me. Dark and silent, it looked nothing like it had hours ago. The windows were boarded up, half the neon letters smashed or missing. Spray paint covered the brick walls, mostly faded tags, but one was still fresh, a large black smear in the shape of a handprint. There were weeds growing through cracks in the concrete near the entrance. A rusted-out bike lay forgotten near the curb. The parking lot was empty except for my car, which sat alone under a flickering street lamp. No lights inside the building. No hum, no sound, just ruin. I stumbled to my car like I was walking underwater. My keys were in my jacket pocket. Somehow, I got in, turned the ignition, and prayed it would start. It did. The engine wheezed like it hated me, but it came to life. I drove, didn't know where I was going, just away. Everything looked wrong, like the world had shifted half an inch to the left while I was gone. The trees were too still, the air too quiet, no birds, no traffic. I passed a gas station and realized it was the first sign of life I'd seen since I woke up. I pulled into the parking lot and parked under the flickering light. Inside, I asked the man behind the counter if he knew what day it was. He stared at me like I'd grown a second head. When he finally answered, I felt something in my chest pull tight. It had only been one night. Just one. I got back home somehow. I locked the door, turned on every light, and sat on the floor for over an hour with my back against the wall and my eyes on the hallway, just waiting to hear that whisper again. Eventually, I grabbed my laptop, typed the address into a search engine. The top result was a local news article, 10 years old. Dave & Buster's closed after tragedy, teen party ends in horror. 5 kids had broken in after hours. A birthday dare. Security footage cut out at 2 a.m. When they were found, 2 had suffocated in a locked storage room. 1 was missing completely. The 4th had been found in the claw machine pit, his hands torn open. The 5th was hospitalized and never recovered. The article included a quote from the only survivor. It knew everything. The shadow knew everything. I haven't slept since. Every time I close my eyes, I see that static smile from the birthday photo. Hear the thump of DDR arrows pulsing under my feet. Feel the whisper crawling into my ears, peeling back things I swore I buried. The screens in my apartment flicker sometimes, just for a second. My phone battery drains at midnight, no matter how full it was before. And once, just once, I heard someone say my name from the hallway. The rules weren't there to keep me safe from the building. They were meant to keep it inside. And now that I've broken them all, I think it followed me home.